Everybody, good morning and welcome to the class. If this is your first class, thank you for attending and thank you for connecting. I hope we have no problem with the technology, no problem with the computer, the Wi-Fi and the internet. I hope everything is okay. Finally, this is an opportunity for me, a very good opportunity to return to work, because in May it was necessary to stop. It was very difficult to continue working from home, and now I have a little space to finally try to work again. Also, it's a very good opportunity to help and to try and teach English, especially to people who really need classes. And of course, at the moment, everybody is staying at home, so it's a good time to try and help, and hopefully the class will benefit you. Okay, so if today is your first day, thank you very much for coming, and I hope the class will help. It might be difficult, but a little patience hopefully will help. And if this is your second or third, or if you're a frequent visitor, welcome also, and hopefully you will enjoy the class today. Okay, so first I just want to explain my objective. So as I said, it's a good opportunity to help during the pandemic. Everybody's at home, so it's a very good opportunity, especially to be free. I want the class to be free and available for you and for anybody who needs English very quickly and needs English for a very important reason. So I want to try and help and to make the class free and available and affordable. Okay, yes, for me it's a good opportunity to know new people, and with Facebook, with Instagram, for business to grow, it's a very good opportunity for me as well to know new people. So for this, it's a good intention for me and a good purpose. Okay, as I said, it's an opportunity to work again, and hopefully everything continues okay, and hopefully I can continue from this location and without problem, and hopefully we can continue working and everything will be okay. I have a dog, and it's possible sometimes the dog is loud, and hopefully that does not disrupt or interrupt you a lot. Okay, if you want to support, it's possible at the end to make a little donation or a little contribution at the end if you want. It would be a very good help for me, and maybe in the future I will need your support. And of course the technology is incredible with Facebook Live. This technology, this ability is absolutely amazing to connect and to teach with people in lots of different places, especially in far countries. And I know there's people from Indonesia, from Thailand, from Vietnam, from Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, Romania, Brazil, South America, Peru. There's lots of different people, so the technology is fantastic with Zoom, with Facebook, and everything we have. So it's really, really good. Okay, so your objective. Okay, so clearly your objective is to learn English, and you want to try to understand local people. Probably number one, local people. Probably you want to understand business English for your job, for your professional situation. Maybe you need English for university, you need English for school, for an exam. So that's another objective for you and very important. And hopefully you can understand me. I apologize if it's difficult to understand me. I hope you can understand me. There are subtitles and captions available on the Facebook Live video, so you can select the captions or the subtitles if you want. The majority is correct, but there are some errors in the captions, but maybe it will help. So I suggest that you select the captions in the video to help you understand me. Okay, so yes, for professional situations, for social situations, English is very important for you, and this is your objective, or to study. And also the economic situation. I understand perfectly that English is expensive for a school, it's expensive for a teacher, and I understand perfectly, because before my price, for example, when I was teaching in a class, was approximately €25 per 1 hour, and I understand that's very difficult for some people, and this is the reason why today it's a very good opportunity for me to try to help. And that's your objective also. You want to learn English at the best possible economic situation. Okay, So that's the introduction. Yeah, so hopefully there's no interruption with the internet, with the dog, with the family. We have people from different countries. If you have a question or if you have a comment, you can put the comment in the box, and later I can check the comments and reply and respond to the comments. Okay, so that's the introduction. Today, the plan for today is a little different from yesterday. Okay, so the plan today, yes, I will continue with the introduction document, because every morning it's important to emphasize and to explain the technical vocabulary and the technical concepts when you learn English, because really the first thing you need to do when you learn a language is to understand the concept and to understand the structure. So today I will continue a little to explain the introduction, and I know yesterday I spoke with Mare from Toledo, and she suggested that it's a good idea maybe to change this, but also it's my obligation a little to explain the technical vocabulary first. Okay, after we will do something different. So I have a book here. So this is a book from an Irish writer. Okay, you can see the book, and I have not read the book myself, but today we will look at maybe 1 or 2 pages from the book, and it's a very good opportunity to understand a different style or a different type of writing. So that's the plan for today, to look at the book, and it's going to be interesting to look at the vocabulary and the style of the writer, and it's based in Ireland. The book is based in Dublin, and the story is based in Dublin, and hopefully it will help. Okay, after the book it's possible to analyze the video, so we will continue with the video from this week. It's from the television telenovela, the soap, and I will explain some of the vocabulary as well. It's possible in the class to practice some speaking, so if you want to participate in speaking, just very normal conversation, just to say hello and to introduce yourself during the class in front of everybody, it's a very good opportunity for people to learn. The meeting code on Zoom is here, so if you want to connect and participate, you just enter the code in Zoom and the passcode, and later or during the class I can accept the person and we can practice some speaking also. This is a good opportunity. Yesterday we spoke to Mare from Toledo. Last week we spoke to Ivalo from Bulgaria, living in London, and we also spoke with Natcha from Thailand, living in Holland. And also a student from Holland sent me a picture this week, and for me this picture is very, very interesting. This is the student watching the class and studying at the same time. So for me this is a fantastic picture and amazing. So thank you very much for the picture, and if you want to send me another picture of your location, for me that's very interesting, because this picture is from Holland and the student is from Thailand, I think Thailand and or Indonesia, one or the other, but it's an incredible ability, and technology again is amazing to be able to do this. Okay, so if you want to do that, that's perfect, and again that's the code for the Zoom if you want to participate during the class. Okay, so the social media, finally, it's possible on Instagram. I have an Instagram account, I have a Twitter account and a YouTube account. Today and yesterday I am playing with the hashtags on Instagram. It's incredible the power of the hashtag to really attract and to connect with different people in relation to a hashtag. So the picture this morning on Instagram and the picture yesterday was in relation to the hashtag and to try to promote the classes. Okay, so we begin. So first I want to show, well, I will share my screen because my picture is very big. And one moment. Okay, so I'll share my screen and we will begin with a little introduction again. So okay, so escape, and hopefully I can share my screen. I think one moment with the technology. Yes, okay, perfecto. Okay, so this is the notes here, my notes for today, and if I need to write some notes and comments, this is the location for my notes and my comments, and very useful for you to read and to look at my notes. Okay, so very quickly, So for me, there are three areas of English that are very important. First area is use of English. The second area are the tenses. And the third area is grammar. So only today, only for 1 minute, I will explain the concepts, because normally it's very long. Okay, so basically, the use of English are different accents. We have lots of different accents around the world, and that's a big part to understand English. And it's very, very hard to teach different accents, but you need to be exposed and to experience different accents in different parts of the world, because that's really a big part to understand English. In Ireland, we have an accent, and definitely it is possible with some of my pronunciation, particularly the U, for example, Dublin, butter, bus, the TH with the. Sometimes my pronunciation is very typical from Ireland in relation to the U and in relation to the TH and also in relation to the O. So that's one example of the accents in Ireland, and for me, I think that's a possibility. Phrasal verbs are very important, and I'm sure you are familiar now with the phrasal verbs. And if you have watched my classes, basically it's a verb and a preposition with a literal significance, but also there is a second and a double significance with the phrasal verb. And we have a lot of phrasal verbs. We have a long list, a very, very long list of phrasal verbs, and they are so important in learning English, because in conversation with my family, with my sisters, with my friends, phrasal verbs are very normal, but we don't realize the importance. It's very natural and very normal for us, but we don't realize they are difficult for you to learn. Okay? Idioms are very similar in the sense that they are very common, and they are expressions, and they're very frequent, and most languages have expressions. And one example is a brain drain. So the brain is in the head, it's the cerebrium in Espanol, something similar, but it's the brain. And the drain is the difficult part. The verb to drain is to extract. So you have water on the house, on the roof it's raining, and you need to drain the water. So it's to extract. So the expression a brain drain is in significance when you have a lot of educated people, a lot of intelligent people, and it's necessary for educated people to emigrate. The people with education are attracted to a different country for a better job, for a better life. So that's a brain drain from the country. That's just one example of an idiom, and we have again a lot of expressions and a lot of idioms, a long list. Okay, conversation and pronunciation is very important, so yes, practicing conversation is really important. And again, during the class, if you want to participate, hopefully I can help you a little just with some pronunciation and some conversation. During the class, I try to identify pronunciation issues and pronunciation topics, because English sometimes is irregular with phonetics. Okay, because Spanish, for example, is very regular, but English is a little irregular with phonetics, and pronunciation is a little difficult sometimes. Okay, so very quickly, tenses. We have lots of different tenses. You need to understand the concept of time when you speak. Do you speak in the present? Do you speak in the past? Do you speak in the future? Do you speak in the hypothetical? And in English we have a few different structures that technically are very important to understand, and other languages are the same. Other languages have different concepts and different structures, but English is very important. The simple, we have the present simple, one action in the present, the past simple, one action completed in the past, and the future simple, one action that will happen in the future. The structure of the past sometimes is irregular, and we have a lot of irregular verbs that are very important and very common, but also a little difficult for you to learn. So irregular verbs in the past are important. The continuous, we have the concept of a present continuous, one action that you are doing continuously in the present. Similar concept in the future, one action that you will be doing continuously in the future. And in the past, it's a similar concept, one action that you did continuously in the past. And the construction is the subject, I, you, he, she, we, subject, extra verb to be, and the gerund. The gerund is the technical name for ing, drinking, eating, going. So I am eating, I was eating, I will be eating. That's the continuous and the simple. The next concept is also important, the concept of the perfect. In English we have the present perfect and we have the past perfect. Basically the present perfect is a period started in the past, it's finished, but the consequences are related to the present. So it started in the past, it finished, and it's related to the present, and that's the present perfect. So for example, the coronavirus has created a big problem. So it started the problem and it's still relevant in the present. That's basically the tense of the present perfect. We have the time of the past perfect, which is usually a period in the past before another action in the past simple. Okay, so for example, the pandemic had created a big problem before we found the vaccine. So past simple is normally after the past perfect, and the construction is the subject, extra verb have in the past, had, and the participle. Okay, so that's a little complicated explanation, but it's so important you are a little familiar with the different times. Again, it's possible in the future. We can have the future perfect. I will have eaten, I will have gone. It's a little more advanced, but it is important to be conscious. Okay, the concept of the infinitive is the foundation or the base of the verb. So the infinitive is normally in English to eat, to drink, to go, to have, to drink, to find. That's the infinitive to. Okay, so that concept is very important. And also we have conditionals. The theory for conditionals in the book is very heavy, very detailed theory and explanation of the zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional. But in reality, it is very flexible, and I think it's more fluent and more maybe informal is possible. But in the book, it's possible very strict and very serious. But in reality, it's a little bit more flexible. Basically, the conditional is connected with if. For example, if I spoke with my friend yesterday, I would have mentioned about the football. I would have talked. So it depends on the time. That's the conditional. And the final important area for me, I think, is the active and the passive. So basically the concept of the active is the verb, subject, the person, I, you, he, she, subject, verb, object. The normal structure, that's considered the active, and then the passive, you change the position. So the object is at the beginning of the sentence, we have an extra verb you introduce to be, and the participle, and then the subject is at the end. So that's the concept of the active and the passive. And here it's the same example as yesterday. So the man kicked the ball, that is the active, and then the passive, the ball was kicked by the man. So that's just an important structure to remember. So they're the tenses, and they're very important to understand in English, the different times. And during the class, during an article, during the book, I try to identify the different forms. And it's really important if you're learning English, very, very important. And again, for native speakers, it's just natural. It's very easy for us because it's natural. We have grown with the language. But a lot of native speakers, a lot of us, are not familiar with the structures, and we do not know the structures very, very well. That is the reality. So you can feel calm because you're learning a very difficult structure that a lot of people don't understand. Okay, and then a few more concepts. These are the basic grammar concepts that are very important. So a noun, you have a substantive or a noun, which is basically a person, a place, or a thing. The bottle, the cat, the dog, the house, the man. Substantive or noun, it's necessary an article. In English we have an indefinite article. So a house, a man, a cat, a or a. The pronunciation is possible too, a or a. We also have the definite article, the house, the cat, the man. So the article is always connected with the substantive or the noun. Also the adjective is perfect to describe the noun. We have a noun, cat, the house, the car, but the adjective is normally before the noun to describe the noun. So the big cat, the small house. So adjective is to describe the noun, and it is before the noun. This is different because in Portuguese, in Spanish, the position of the adjective is after the noun. And lo siento porque no hablo portuguesa, pero hablo español un poquito, y creo que los dos idiomas tienen similarities, pero lo siento porque no hablo portugués y ojalá que tú puedes me entiendes. Okay, I hope that you understand me. That's the most important. Okay, the concept of the adverb. So basically an adverb describes the verb, and in Portuguese, in Spanish, I think it's the same concept. An adverb is very important, connected to the verb. In English, the adverb normally ends in ly, quickly, slowly, rapidly, happily. So the adverb normally ends in ly. Okay, modal verbs. So the category of modal verbs are very frequent and very common in English. Basically, it depends on ability or possibility. Can, could, may, might, should, must, ought to. We have modal verbs that are very important, and it's necessary to understand them perfectly. Can is usually ability and permission. I can play the piano, it's my ability. Permission, I can go to the party, it's permission. Could, may and might are for possibility or for question. Could I go to the party? May I go to the party? Might I go to the party? It's a question. And also possibility, I could go to the party. It's an option, it's a possibility. I may go to the party, I might go to the party. So the three are almost the same. The difference probably is may and might are a little more formal, possibly a little more formal and a little more polite, perhaps. Okay, that's the only difference between the three. Ought to and should and shall are very similar. So shall is more formal and it's older English, and basically it's similar to should and will. Shall we go to the cinema? Shall we have a party? Has the significance. Will we have a party? Will we go to the cinema? Should is typical for recommendation and advice. So my recommendation to you, you should watch this movie. You should read this book. It's my recommendation and my advice. So should, and the next verb is ought to, is the same. So you ought to read this book. You ought to go to the cinema. You ought to speak to your friends. So modal verbs are very important. And the final modal verb is must, obligation. You must do the work. You must speak to your friend. So must is a modal verb and obligation. The rule, the general rule after the modal verb, the next verb is the infinitive. Remember, to eat, to drink, to go. But the rule, it's necessary always to eliminate to. So modal, you can go, you can eat. That's the rule. After the modal, it's the infinitive, but it's necessary to eliminate to. Okay? And prepositions are a very big part of English as well. Prepositions are basically related to movement, direction and position. So I am in the room. I am in Dublin. So position, location. I am speaking to you. So direction to you. The ball is on the table. The ball is under the table. The ball is beside the table, over the table, below the table, in front of the table, behind the table. So prepositions are really important and really common, and particularly in phrasal verbs. We have a lot of phrasal verbs, and the preposition is the big part of phrasal verbs. Normally, prepositions are associated with emotion and sensation and feeling. For example, up is usually positive, up is usually happy, down is usually negative, down is usually depressing, or down is usually to destroy. Okay, so there is an association with feeling and prepositions. Okay, basically this area is important also of pronouns. So for example, my cat, it's my cat, or the cat is mine, or give the cat to me. So the position of the pronoun, is it the subject pronoun, is it the object pronoun, is it the possessive pronoun? So pronouns, this area is really important, because from my experience listening to people speak English, it's a very common, very common confusion. So from listening to a lot of people, it's a very common confusion, and I recommend that you are very sure with the difference between the pronouns. Okay, my house, your house, the house is mine, the house is yours. Okay, or he bought the house for me, I buy the house for you. Okay, and again, the difference between this, that, these and those is very important. This is singular here, that is singular in a different position, these is plural here, and those is plural away. Okay, so it is important, and similar with another, other, the other, and the others. And every day I explain the importance. So another is usually for substantive in the singular, another day, another week, another year. Another usually is singular. Other is usually plural, other days, other weeks, other years. That's the difference. But it is possible when you have an option or a choice of two things, do you want this coffee or do you want the other coffee? So when you have a choice, it is possible the other, which is a selection of the two choices. Okay, that's the third possibility. And the fourth possibility is the group. Do you want to go to the party with us, nosotros in Espanol? Do you want to go to the party with us, or do you want to go to the party with the others? So the others is also a group of people. Okay, and questions, how to construct the question is very important in English, and also the suffix and the prefix. For me, honestly, it's a very, very, very interesting area to learn English. The suffix and the prefix for me is a very important area to help you really understand the difference in the word with the verb, the noun, the adjective, the adverb. So the suffix and the prefix is a big clue and a big secret to understand the family of the word. And one big problem, a lot of people normally confuse the noun, the adjective, the adverb, and that's a big and obvious issue from listening again to a lot of people. So I recommend that you are maybe familiar with the concept of the suffix and the prefix. Okay, so that's the introduction for today. And finally, writing is important, and writing is an important area of English for sure. So you need to practice writing, and with me it is possible. So every day I offer for you to send me some writing, and I can correct your writing for free. And if you give me permission, I can show the writing during the class, and everybody can learn a little from the writing. And then also exam preparation. A lot of people prepare for exams, the Cambridge exams, the first certificate, the advanced certificate. In Spain, it's very important for the oposiciones to work in the public sector. In Spain, it's very important to have a certificate. And I hope soon, if you have the interest, we can maybe create classes particularly for exam preparation. Okay, so well done. That's really good explanation, and every day is important. So Mayor from yesterday, I'm sorry because we continued with the introduction. I was considering to eliminate the introduction, but it is my obligation to help and to show, and also the new people. But I think it is important to refresh all the time. As a teacher, it's important for me to remember again and again and again. And I think in that case for you, it's important to always consider the different structures and the technical vocabulary. Okay, so this is the book. You can see it's the second chapter. So this book is the second chapter. And basically the story is the woman, Philo, is a name for Philomena. It's the female name, Philomena. So basically the story, Philomena, I think, has left with the husband. She has separated from the husband, and Philomena decides to go to a convent. A convent is like the religious institution, and she goes to the convent for support and for help. The story is based in Dublin, I think maybe 50 or 60 years ago, and the vocabulary is very particular from Dublin, and it's a very interesting read. So I hope I can help a little with the explanation. So first I can maybe read a little for pronunciation, and then after the paragraph I can check with the explanation for the grammar and the vocabulary. Okay, so when Philo got up the next day, Sister Rosaline took her on a tour of the convent. She started out on the roof garden, which was a collection of exotic plants in containers, looked after by Sister Xavier, who talked to them and prayed for them. But not today, because she was sick in bed with the flu. Could be the influenza type. With so much devastation all around the north wall, it was a genuine surprise for Philo to find the garden there, a piece of perfection at the edge of chaos. The nearby flats had been detenanted and were about to be demolished. They were a sad and sorry sight. Okay, so I'll continue to the end. The stairs and balconies where the children had once played were silent and empty. The rooms that had contained so much life were only shells. Here on the roof, each plant had a label detailing its name, where it came from, and the date it had been planted. The contrast couldn't have been more profound. Okay, so just a general introduction, first paragraph. For me, very interesting because the vocabulary is very, very good. So first, you can see when Philo got up. So the verb is to get up, and yesterday was the same. So we have two possibilities, to wake up and to get up. And there is a small difference, and I hope you can remember the difference. So wake is probably mentally you're more alert, you're more aware, so you wake up with your eyes. But get up is more physical, okay? So you physically stand up and get up, okay? It's also irregular in the past. So the verb is to get and the past is got. So this is the past. When Philo got up the next day, Sister Rosaline. So in the religious institution, the sister is the monja, I think in Espanol, like the nun. So in English, the vocabulary is a nun or a sister, okay? So I'm just going to find you I hope you understand the explanation. So basically, a sister is not family, but it's more the religious concept of the church. It's the sister, and it is possible a brother. So for example, my school, when I was younger, we had brothers, and the brother is the teacher. So it's not exactly mi hermana from my family. It's more the concept in school or the structure. Okay. This is the first verb, to take. So Rosaline took her, and the verb is to take. So I take you, you take me, but the past is irregular, took her. And tour or a trip, typical preposition is on a tour, on a trip. So I will go on a tour, I will go on a trip, and that's the typical preposition with a tour. It's necessary on, and here it's the past irregular. So take, took, taken is the participle. So take, took, taken, okay? She started out. This is a very good example of a phrasal verb. Okay, so to start out basically has the same significance as to start, but it is very important. So on my journey, I start out at 6 o'clock. In my career, I started out as a doctor. I started out as a junior. So start out is a phrasal verb, and it really means basically to start. Okay, and it's normally in relation to time or your journey. So again, your journey, you start out at 6 o'clock. That's the moment. Your career, you start out as a junior. So to start out really means it's emphasis to start, I suppose. Okay. So here she started out on the roof. Garden. So again, the roof is a surface. So the difference between a roof and a ceiling is very important. And generally in the room, the ceiling is the flat techo. Okay. So the ceiling is in the room. You have the living room, the bathroom, and the ceiling is flat, but the roof probably is outside the building. The roof is this shape and this form. So there is a difference between the ceiling and the roof, and you need to be a little bit clear with the difference, okay? Ceiling and roof. But because the roof is a surface, it's necessary on, and also it's a garden. So, but really, because normally in the house you can say in the garden, I am in the garden. But because it's the roof, it's on the roof. Okay? Santa, for example, Santa Claus is on the roof. That's one example. So the roof is always the preposition on. Okay? Exotic plants in containers. So the verb is to contain. Remember, to contain is the verb. Contained is the adjective. And it is possible a substantive, a container. So I like chocolate, for example. And I want to take chocolate with me on my holiday. I take the chocolate in a container. Okay, so the preposition in the container. Okay. The next verb is very important, to look after. So this is a phrasal verb. And probably you understand, if your level is advanced, I'm sure you're familiar with this expression. So to look after the children means really to take care of the children, or to mind the children, or to protect the children. So to look after is to protect. To look after the plants, to protect the plants. To look after your family, to protect your family. To look after yourself, to protect and to take care of yourself. So it is extremely common and extremely important phrasal verb, and here it's in the context of the plants. So you look after the plants. So you take care of the plants, okay? By Sister Xavier. Who? So remember the difference between who and whom. Who is the subject and whom is the object. Okay, so here we have an example of the subject, and the difference is the object is whom. So for example, I give the apples to you. I give the apples to whom. Okay, because it's the object whom, it's necessary M. But the subject who gives the apples to me. Who gives the apples to you? Who, because it's the subject, and whom is the object. Okay, so it is important, and here it's the subject. The preposition to is related to talk, so I talk to you because it's direction. Talk to you. Remember, talk, say and tell are very, very similar, but it's very important in the preposition to. Talk, necessary to. Say, necessary to. I say to you, I talk to you. But tell, we eliminate to always. The majority of the time we eliminate to with tell. So I tell you, you tell me, I tell him, but I say to you, I talk to you. Very important. So basically tell, we eliminate to. That's the point, okay? Pray. So pray is the verb, difficult vocabulary in the institute, the religious situation, you pray, okay? So it's typical, the preposition, I pray for you, you pray for me, but the substantive is a prayer, okay? So the verb is to pray, and the noun is a prayer, okay? And it's typical with the preposition to pray for, and this is the example. So she talked to the plant, she prayed for the plants, I think, because not today, she was sick. So the difference between sick and ill, they are practically the same, I think. Maybe if you're a doctor you can correct me, but sick and ill are almost the same. So if you are sick, you are ill, and just be careful with the substantive, because sick is the adjective, ill is the adjective. The substantive is sickness or illness, okay? So sickness and illness are the two nouns. Okay, so sickness and illness are nouns, and sick and ill is the adjective. Okay, so here it's just the adjective. And again, the preposition for bed, I think yesterday or 2 days ago we spoke about the preposition in bed. We have two possibilities for prepositions with bed. It's possible in bed and it's possible on bed, on the bed. Okay, so if you are in the bed, that physically means the blanket is over you. You are in the bed, the blanket is over, but on is just maybe the position. You are sitting on the bed. So there is a difference between in and on in relation to the bed. And here obviously she is sick, so it's necessary she has the blanket and she is covering in bed, okay? Again, so is important before the adjective. We normally say so happy, so tired, so hungry. So is to intensify the verb, but also it's connected with so much, and it means a lot. So you have so much time, you have so much energy, you have so much food, and the significance is emphasis to intensify more, okay? With so much devastation all around, so this is very typical as well. So the coronavirus at the moment is all around, the preposition around and all, every position, and here the devastation all around. The North Wall is the name of a place in Dublin. We have East Wall in Dublin. If you are familiar with Dublin, you know East Wall, but North Wall is another area, and that's where the story of the book is based, okay? The next one is at the edge of chaos. So at is for particular location. You are at the cinema, you are at the cafe. The edge of chaos. So this explanation or this phrase is a little creative and a little colourful, but chaos is obviously crazy situation, locura, it's crazy, it's chaos, and edge is frontera, or borde in Espanol. So you have the table, this is the table, and the edge of the table is the almost the end, okay? If you are very excited and you are watching the football, you're on the edge of your seat. So that is a famous expression, okay? So I am on the edge of my seat, and that means you're very excited, you're watching the football and it's very entertaining and you're almost standing because you're on the edge of your seat. It's possible the edge of the road. So you have the road and the edge is the side. So edge is very common and very important. It's possible for a person. If a person is very edgy, it's almost nervous and a little different. So an edgy person is maybe a little uncomfortable, a little awkward. You remember the vocabulary awkward? And here it's at the edge of chaos. So you have the chaos and you're at the edge of chaos. So not in the chaos, you're just outside. So it's important the detail and important the prepositions as well. Okay. Nearby is the preposition. So this is a typical question. Nearby, near, close, close to. Basically, they are all very, very similar and they're all the same. Okay. So I live near the city. I live close to the city. I live nearby the city, or I live near the city. The four are correct, the four are appropriate, and the four are possible. Maybe it's a little more polite and a little more formal, nearby, but really they are the same. Nearby, near, close to, and close. Okay, very, very important. And here it's just the preposition. The flat, so remember the explanation, the difference between apartment and flat. They are basically the same, an apartment or a flat, but flat originally is an adjective. So if the land is very flat, it's this form. But for example, the mountain is not flat, or the hill is not flat, it's the opposite. So you have a mountain, you have a hill, but the opposite is flat. And that's the significance for an apartment, because you have an apartment and then you have a house. So they're different, okay? And that's the reason. So the nearby flats and apartments basically, okay? A tenant, so this verb is not typical, but it is creative, and basically a tenant is the person who rents the apartment. So if you rent a room, you rent the house, you are the tenant, okay? And the opposite is the landlord or the landlady or the owner. So the landlord, the landlady and the owner are the three controlling the apartment or the house, and the tenant is the person who lives in the house to pay rent, okay? So a tenant and a landlord, a landlady and the owner, okay? So here it's a very, very creative verb. So the D is the opposite. So when you have the prefix D, it's the opposite. So to tenant the house basically is to put the tenant in, but the detenant is to take out the tenants of the apartments or the flats, because they were about to be demolished. So about has a few significances for a preposition. About 6 o'clock, approximately 6 o'clock. About 500 people, approximately 5. So about has the significance of approximately. About has another significance around. I am walking about town. So it has the same significance. I am walking around town. So that's the second significance. And the third significance is when you are going to do the action in the future. So today I am about to call my friend. So I will call my friend in the near future. Okay. I am about to open my book. I am about to have my dinner. So about is used for the verb that you will do the action in the near future. So there's three significances for about. About is approximately, about is around, and about to with the verb is just before you do the action. Okay, and here it's also the passive and the active. So here it's the passive, and you remember I demolish the building. That's the active. The verb is to demolish. I demolish the building, but the building is demolished by me. And here we have the verb to be with the participle. So this is an example of the passive. Okay, so they will be demolished in the near future. That's the significance of about. They were a sad and sorry sight. So this is a very conversational expression. So you are a sorry sight, or I am a sad sight, means that I look very sad, I look very bad, and it's like regret or depressing. So it is a sorry sight. So remember, it's related to the verb maybe to see. Your sight is your vision, okay? And when you travel to Ireland, you want to visit the sites, or you want to see the sites, okay? So you need to be a little bit careful. But there's two words, and here the first word is like a construction site. like a location or a place. So this is the site, this is the location, number one, the construction site. But this one is the view. Okay, you are in the hotel, you are on the balcony, and you have a good sight of the city. So it's possible you have a good view. So a sight is very similar to a view. Okay, practically the same. But the first one is very, very different. The first one is the location, and the pronunciation is almost the same. Okay, and that's the expression, it's a sorry sight. So for example, the homeless situation is a sorry sight. It's very sad to see, and that's very typical in conversation and in informal, every situation. Okay, it is sad to see. Okay, and the next one is empty. So just important vocabulary. The opposite is full. So the restaurant is full, a lot of people, but the restaurant is empty, nobody. So at the moment with the pandemic, the restaurant is empty. The cafes, the shops are empty. Okay, it is a verb also, to empty. Okay, so empty is the adjective and the verb is to empty. So for example, the bin, you have the bin is full and you want to empty the bin. Okay, full is the opposite. Okay, and the rooms that had contained so much life. So again, this is repetition. So here we have so much devastation, really means a lot, and here we have so much life, so a lot of life. Okay, and again, remember the family with life, because the verb is to live and the pronunciation is very important. So the verb is to live and the substantive is your life. Okay, and there is an adjective, alive. So there's one possibility, adjective, alive, and there's another possibility, lively. Okay, adjective, and the significance is related. So the city is alive, that has the significance, a lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot of movement. The city is alive, but also the city is very lively, practically is the same, and it means that there's a lot of life, a lot of animation, a lot of entertaining. So it's an important family. Basically the verb, the pronunciation is to live, and the substantive is alive, and the plural is also important, but also music, live music is very important. So the pronunciation is different. The word is the same, to live and live music. So the pronunciation is different, but the word is exactly the same. So you need to be careful. Shell, so this is very good vocabulary as well. So the tortoise, or the turtle, you know the animal, the turtle has a shell. Or the egg has a shell. And we have an expression for a person. The person can come out of the shell. So the person is very shy, the person is very introverted, but after the party, maybe with some Coca-Cola, you take some Coca-Cola, some chocolate, and you're more relaxed and you're more energetic. So you come out of your shell, you're more extroverted and you like to talk a little bit more. That's a famous expression. Okay, to come out of your shell, because the turtle normally goes into the shell and then to come out of the shell. So it's a metaphor for a person who is shy and then changes to become the center of the party. And here they speak in a metaphor for the apartment. So the apartment or the flat is now just a shell, because nobody is inside, it is empty, it's just a shell. Okay, there's one difficult expression in English. We have a tongue twister. Okay, a tongue twister, the tongue is the lengua, and to twist is the action to tortheo, to twist. But there is a famous expression, a tongue twister in Ireland. So she sells seashells on the seashore. And this would be your homework. This would be very difficult. So she is the subject, sell is the verb, sell the food, sell the clothes, sell. Seashells are the shells on the sea with the very specific type of object. So the expression, the tongue twister, she sells seashells on the seashore. And the shore is like in Gandia, you have Gandia shore with the beach and the shore. So that's just one little example in relation to the shell. Okay, and here we have again roof. So the difference between ceiling and roof, but again the preposition is on the roof, and it is important. To come from is the important preposition and the important combination. So I come from Dublin, you come from Spain. Where do you come from? This is a question to mean where are you from. So where are you from has the same significance, where do you come from. And this is very common in introduction. If you meet a person in America, if you meet a person when you are traveling in England, and they say to you, where do you come from? So where are you from is the same significance, okay? Planted. So obviously a plant is the substantive in the garden. You have a plant like a rose, a daffodil, a lily. They are a plant or a flower, but the verb is to plant, okay? And we have an expression as well, like a metaphor, to plant a seed. A seed is a semilla in Espanol, and here I'm going to show you the dictionary, because the dictionary here is very good. So a seed in Arabic, Bulgarian, Chinese, Croatian, Dutch, French, German, Hungarian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, okay, Polish, Portuguese. So the expression to plant a seed is a metaphor with to grow. So if I want to give you a little idea, I want to give you inspiration, I can plant the seed with you. So it's not obviously physical or literal in the farm or in the garden. It's possible metaphor for a person as well. Okay, and also in the conversation in the living room, imagine you and your family are watching television and everybody enters the room and you plant yourself in the most comfortable chair. Okay, so you plant yourself in the most comfortable chair. So basically you sit in the most comfortable chair and you do not move. Okay, so to plant yourself in the best chair means really to sit and to stay. It's the same significance in the garden, but it's a metaphor and different situation. Okay. Okay, good. So that's one example of the book and one paragraph. Now I want to show you a little exercise. So now I want to give you a little test or a little exercise, and in the comments you can write your answer and you can give your opinion for the possible answer. So I'm just waiting for the computer to load. We have a script from the book, and I to imagine the correct word in the position. Okay, so I will show you. It's an exercise for now, and I want to show you the exercise. Okay, so let me just show you my files. Week 7, and it is today the book from Big Fat Love, and I think it's in the exercise here. Yeah, okay. So are you ready for the exercise? I hope you can try it. Here is the book, and this is a very similar style of exercise in exams. So in the comments section of the Facebook page, I want you to try this. Okay, so this is the next section, and the first question is, okay, so she looked across at the dying world of the North Wall. This is the context. So she looked across at the dying world of the North Wall. So the area is dying, the area is in bad condition. The silent flats, the empty flats, the shells that had once housed so many. The quays is the road. So the quays that had teemed with life, teemed is like full of life, it was passing away. So to pass away means to die, okay? And here I want you to imagine or to guess what is the possible word. So it was passing away. It is the city or the area was passing away. And to pass away has almost the same significance as to die slowly. Okay, so to pass away has the same significance to die slowly. And here it was passing away something she was among. Among is like with, flowers, and happy. Number 2, be there, happy to be out of. So happy she wanted to. Okay, so that is the sentence. Number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now in the comment on Facebook, do you have any idea or any suggestion for the possible answer for number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4? Okay, so I'll give you maybe 10, 15 seconds to read again. It was passing away something she was among the flowers and happy be there, happy to be out of something, comma, so happy she wanted to. Okay, so a bit difficult, but okay, so maybe I can tell you the answer for number yes, I think number 1 was that. It was passing away. No, it's not that. But number 3 is it. Okay, so number 3 is it. And number 4 is to cry. Okay, so she wanted to cry. And number 2 is maybe a little bit difficult or easy because you have the adjective happy and the verb be. And remember, normally with the verb we have the infinitive. So number 2 is to. So she was happy to be there. And number 1 I need to remember. So number 1 is here. She looked across at that world of the North Wall that once housed so many the key, and she was passing away, and she was. So number 3 is number 1 is and. Okay, that's just a little exercise, but it's just additional for today. But I want to do something similar to that in the future. Okay, so if you want to connect with participate in the class, now is a good opportunity. So if you want to practice some speaking, now is a very good opportunity to connect to the class. Here is the code for the Zoom call. So feel free to join, and for maybe 5 minutes we can have a chat. If no, but let me check if anybody has connected. No, at the moment we have nobody, but you're welcome to join the call anytime you want, and we can practice. Now I want to show you maybe the list of idioms. Okay, so remember we have a lot of phrasal verbs and we have a lot of idioms. Okay, and this is the list that we continue every day. And basically the last expression was the lights are on but nobody is home. And you remember this expression that in the house the lights are on, and it's possible lights on, lights off, but the lights are on and nobody is at home has the significance that the person looks very awake, the person appears very awake, but really there's no activity, there's no movement in the thoughts. It's a little insult, definitely. So if you want to insult somebody, you can say your lights are on but nobody is home. It's probably a strong insult, but it is a typical expression. Okay, like clockwork. So if you are like clockwork, that means you're very regular, you're very organized, you're very punctual. So basically like clockwork is a synonym for punctual. Okay, so he or she is like clockwork, and I'm going to show you my notes. Like clockwork has the same significance to be punctual. Okay, like clockwork, that's one example. It is important and it's common, and yeah, it's very typical. For example, the bus is like clockwork, the delivery service is like clockwork, very punctual, very on time. And also you need to be clear the difference between on time and in time. Okay, so the first significance, on time, is punctual. If you have a meeting at 10 o'clock and you are on time, that means you arrive at 10 o'clock. So you are punctual, on time. The difference between in time is a little different. So you have the meeting at 10 o'clock and you arrive in time, that means you arrive maybe 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before. So there is a little difference between on time and in time, and it is a common confusion as well. So on time is very punctual with on, and in time is just a little before. Okay, the next example is like there is no tomorrow. So you are behaving, or you are acting, or you are living like there is no tomorrow. So you imagine, you believe that maybe today is the most important day and you have no future, or you have no life tomorrow. So you do everything that you want today. So you live like there is no tomorrow. It's a famous expression in movies. It's a possible expression with families, and it means that you are not planning, you are not thinking about the future. Okay, to live like there's no tomorrow. The next expression for me is not so common personally, but it is possible. Okay, so line is the substantive, the line. There is a verb to line up, and typical in the school. So the teacher typically says to the students, line up, and it's an order or instruction to make or to form a line. Okay, so line up. And the next expression, in a row, is very important. In a row is typical in the cinema. You have the front row, you have the second row, you have the third row in the cinema. So the row is like the fila in Espanol. But in a row has the significance consecutive. So football, you win 4 matches in a row, you win 4 matches consecutively. Okay, so 4 days in a row, it's 4 days consecutively, because remember, a row is for the cinema, front row, back row. Okay, that's one possibility, front row in the cinema or back row. The second verb is to row, and it's the sport. Okay, so to row your boat is remar in Espanol, to row. The pronunciation is different, but the word is exactly the same, and the context is the boat. And we have another verb which is the same spelling but completely different, to row. Okay, so to row is to fight. So the substantive is typical. I have a row. If I have a row, I have an argument with my family, I have an argument with my friends, I have a row. So the pronunciation is a row, the significance is a fight or a discussion, and the verb is to row. The sport or the boat and the activity is to row. Okay, you know the famous song, row, row, row your boat, in the school, it's very typical. And the front row is in the cinema. Okay, but the expression in a row is consecutive. So again, 3 days in a row, 3 days consecutive. And here, the expression is line up all the ducks. The duck is pato in Espanol. So line up all the ducks in a row. And basically the significance is that you are very organized, you are very prepared. That's the significance of the expression. In my opinion, it's not very common. I do not hear this expression a lot, but it is possible. Okay, the next one is more typical and definitely more common, to live beyond your means. Okay, remember the pronunciation of the verb to live, it's different from the substantive life. So the verb to live, beyond is the preposition más allá, so Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. So beyond is more, okay, and your means are really your ability to your level of income. Okay, so means is a way. So you have the means to pay for the holiday. Basically this means you have the method or the way or the ability. So you have the means to pay for the holiday, has the significance of the way. You have the method or the way or the ability to pay for the holiday. And to live beyond your means is basically to live beyond your ability. So my salary, for example, is €20 per day, and that's my means, €20 per day. And if I live beyond my means, that means I want to buy a car, I want to buy a big jacket. It's not possible, but I'm living beyond my ability. It's a very, very famous expression, okay, to live beyond your means. And last week we had an expression as a means to an end, and that means again as a way to achieve or to complete your objective. So as a means to an end. So for example, teaching, your job is a means to an end. Your job is your method to reach your objective. Your pay your food, pay your light, pay your apartment. It's a means to an end. It's a flexible word and it's important. But also we say I mean, and it's the significance, o sea in Espanol, I mean. So it is an important word, and sometimes it's confusing. Live in an ivory tower. This is an expression maybe of the person is very protected and maybe away from reality. So if you live in an ivory tower, you're maybe away from reality. You don't understand what's happening. You're not aware of the real situation on the street, in the situation of people's lives. You live in an ivory tower. You're dreaming. Okay. There is an expression to live on cloud 9, which is a little bit different. To live on cloud 9 is more positive and more happy, but it's probably an insult as well. You live on cloud 9 or you live in the clouds is probably an insult. Okay, and I think in other languages it's the same sentiment and the same insult as well. Okay, living on the bread line is very important. So the bread is the food, and the bread line is the name for the level between poverty and comfortable. Okay, so the bread line is the limit. Okay, and poverty is the substantive and the adjective is poor. Okay, so the bread line is basically the limit or the line, and if you live on the bread line, you are in a very difficult situation, you have no extra money, you have only the ability to pay for food. That's the breadline. Okay, and again, in conversation, in business, in movies, it's a typical expression to live on the breadline. You have no ability to pay more money, you maybe lost your job, etc. Okay, long arm of the law is a very famous expression. So arm is this part of the body, long is the adjective, so long arm, and the law is like the government or the rules. Okay, law is the subject. Okay, the person is a lawyer, and the lawyer is the person, and the substantive is the law. Okay, so basically the significance, the long arm of the law. So maybe the criminal does the action in the moment, the criminal commits the crime in the moment, but there's no punishment. He is free at the moment because nobody catches him. But eventually, after 3 weeks, after 4 weeks, the police check the security, the police do a lot of activity, and eventually they catch the robber. That's the expression, the long arm of the law. So eventually, in the end, the law will catch the bad action. Okay, so it is a common expression, the long arm of the law. Good, and again, the next one is extremely frequent, and I'm sure you understand it. It's very literal and very easy. So long time no see. It's very normal and very literal, so not difficult. And it's extremely common in conversation, particularly at the moment with the restrictions. I have not seen my friend for a long time. I have not seen this person for a long time. And the moment I meet my friend again, the first word, the first sentence, long time no see. So it's extremely common in conversation with family, with friends, when you do not see the person for a long time no see. You can say long time no hear, that's possible as well. Long time no hear, long time no see, and that's one possibility. Again, the next one is fundamental and very typical. So side is lado in Espanol, the good side, the bad side. The bright is brillante, bright side, dark side. So if you are optimistic, you are an optimistic person, you look on the bright side. So you have two possibilities. You can perceive, you can look the situation negative, or you can look the situation positive. And you always look on the bright side. So always you identify the positivity, you identify the good situations. The other expression is the glass is always half full, and always is optional. It's not necessary with always, it's optional, but the glass is half full is optimistic. Okay, and the opposite, pessimistic, the glass is half empty. Okay, but there is an expression, look on the bright side of life, and the famous song, always look on the bright side of life. Okay, love at first sight is typical again, and remember, sight is your vision, so you see, and the substantive is the sight, and it's love at first sight. At is the time, remember, at 6 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, at first sight. So the moment, it was love, love at first sight, extremely typical expression, like love at first sight. Okay, and the next is an adjective, very lovey-dovey. So if the situation is very lovey-dovey, or the person is very lovey-dovey, they're just really full of emotion and full of love. Imagine the couple go to the cinema and they're holding hands and they're hugging and they're kissing. So the perfect adjective, they are lovey-dovey. It's a little informal, and probably it's just good for the sound. It has a good rhythm, lovey-dovey, okay? Because a dove is a bird. A dove is the bird of peace. You know, the white bird, that's the dove. But the expression lovey-dovey is just maybe related to the sound, and it's a very romantic situation. The next one is very good as well. Okay, so a lump in my throat. Okay, so a lump is, for example, I hit my head and I have a lump on my head. It's a big lump, okay? But your throat, this is your throat. And if you have a lump in your throat, it's a metaphor or the situation for emotional situations. So I am watching the movie. I am watching Bambi. You remember Disney's Bambi, and it's very sad, and I'm watching. And de repente, suddenly, I have a lump in my throat because I feel I want to cry because I'm very sad. So if you have a lump in your throat, it's emotional and you want to cry. Okay? It is important and famous. Okay, so I think that's good and sufficient for today. And again, if anybody wants to, for me, it would be fantastic for somebody to participate and to practice. Yesterday we spoke to Mayor in Toledo, but I would like to communicate with people in Ireland, people in England, and if you want to practice, now is your opportunity to practice some speaking. And for me, it will be really, really good. I don't know if we have anybody waiting at the moment, but when you want, we can connect. Okay, and remember, everything is free today, so thank you very much for the class. Very good work. So first was the book, a different style in the book, very creative, very descriptive, very good vocabulary from the book. We also had the introduction for the grammar, and we looked at some idioms as well. So that is good work for today. Tomorrow I will continue again. Everything is free, but if you want to make a little contribution or a little support for me, it will be very good. It's possible by Bizum in Spain. If you want to donate or contribute maybe €1 or €2, for me it would be fantastic. Or by PayPal as well. You can go to the website paypal.me/Brian King, or with your phone you can scan this code. Or the third option is the bank details here if you want to make a little contribution to support me. It will be very good. Okay, so no, we have nobody waiting, which is a pity, definitely a pity, because I was looking forward to practice some speaking with somebody, but no. Okay, so have a great day and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much for watching the class, and I hope to see you tomorrow again. If you have any comments, you can put the comments in the section, and talk to you soon. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye bye.